When the Soviet Union started to fall apart, some of the scientists who knew about phages came to the United States for various reasons, some for work, some to study. And one of them was a Georgian who came from Tbilisi. His name is Alexander Slachvelidze. He goes by Sandra. And he came here as a postdoc in the early 1990s to continue studying microbiology. And he ended up in the University of Maryland working with a fairly well-known infectious disease physician, Glenn Morris. So Glenn Morris was a practicing physician. He actually treated patients, and one day he lost a patient. It wasn't the first patient he lost to an antibiotic-resistant infection, and he was very upset, visibly upset. So Sandra asked him what was wrong, and Glenn said, I just lost a person to an infection that didn't react to antibiotics, and I don't know how to treat them. And Sandra said, and the phage didn't work either? And Glenn just gave him that stare, like he had no clue what Sandra was even talking about. And when I was talking to Sandra for the book, he said, it was just such a moment of reckoning to me in America, in a country with a very advanced medical system. Someone just died from an infection that we could cure in my hometown. It just didn't make sense. So Glenn and him talked, and basically from that point on, Sandra spent at least 25 years, probably more by now, that he kept pushing this idea in the United States, trying to convince the NIH to get him some funding, to convince the FDA that phages were safe to use. And for a long time, he was kind of hitting the wall because of all these reasons that I explained a few minutes ago. There was just a lot of mistrust. American medical system just didn't think that phages made any sense. So at some point he realized he just wouldn't be able to push phages as medicine first, and he switched to sort of food safety. In the food safety arena, it's easier to work with novel ideas because we're not treating the person who is desperately ill. We're dealing with food safety. So his first breakthrough with phages was actually food safety sprays that they developed for foodborne pathogens, such as Salmonella, Listeria, Campylobacter, like all other things that we periodically hear on the news about that's sickening a bunch of people. And those were first approved by the FDA somewhere around 2006, I believe, and then more sprays approved as they produced them. So that's what he started with, and that's what he was successful with, his company Intralytics. Later, around, I believe, 2018 was the first time he was able to get an FDA approval for a clinical trial. And I think now he has at least 3 or 4, yeah.
Interesting. So right now there's clinical trials looking at phages.
Yeah, when I first started working on the book, which was 4 years ago, there was a handful, and I think now there's at least 15, I think even more. There's also a lot more phage companies that are trying different things. There's startups and some pharmaceutical spin-offs that are looking at phages and how to use them better. So there's actually a lot going on.